Hello everyone, my name is Dennis with Sec or Security, whatever your heart desires, and in today's video we'll be doing a Wireshark lab. Here's the lab, it's called OpenWire, it's by CyberDefenders. This lab is completely free by the way, and we will be using Wireshark, and this is the pcap file that we got from this lab. All we have to do is click download, and then we unzip the file with the password cyberdefenders.org, and we can click this copy password right here, and just as a FYI, if you guys don't know how to unzip something, you just click on this and then you'll click on this pcap file. Then it'll say enter the password, and then you just enter that password that CyberDefenders gave you. So also keep in mind, if you guys do plan on doing other labs, Wireshark is not, a threatening tool that can, break into my operating system and, wreak havoc. So if you do plan on doing some more advanced labs that provide dynamic analysis, consider opening this content in a secure, isolated environment. So I'll let you guys decide what that is. I can give you a hint. Definitely open it up in a virtual machine. But yeah, we've already done these questions before because I've done a bunch of shorts on this lab. Just want to do a quick YouTube video just to give a rundown on why this is the answer and maybe provide a more detailed explanation than my shorts. So here's a scenario right here. We're a SOC 2 analyst. Escalation from tier 1 public facing server. Okay, flag for making outbound connections to multiple suspicious IPs. So that's something we have to consider right here. Multiple suspicious IPs. Initiate standard incident response protocol. Isolates the server from the network to prevent lateral movement. If you guys don't know what lateral movement data exploitation is, I'd suggest go to MITRE ATT&CK framework. Definitely study this up because this is like the MITRE ATT&CK framework of a knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques based on real-world observations. So there's 14 of them. There's a bunch of techniques, and there's a bunch of sub-techniques right here. Definitely study this up because this is how a threat actor, completes the actions on objectives from the beginning all the way to the end, which also relates to the cyber kill chain, which is the 7 stages of cyber attack, all the way from reconnaissance and then actions on objectives. So yeah, a little bit of out of scope there. Okay, obtain impacted capture analysis. Okay, let's analyze the pcap assess for signs of malicious activity. As I said before, I've already done this slide before, so let's do this really quick. And by the C2 IP, command and control IP, you can block traffic to and from the IP, helping to contain the breach and prevent further data exploitation or command execution. Provide the IP of this command and control server that communicated with our server. About to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Obviously, this is Wireshark, basically a network traffic analyzer. Bunch of packets here, so definitely add a display filter, which is kind of like a query, adds a SIEM, which is your security information event management tool. My mouse almost fell. So applying a display filter, we can just do, based on what I see right here, invoice.xml. Majority of these labs that I'm doing, invoice is 8 times out of 10, the IOC, the malicious IOC. So let's try to get all the invoice.xml. We need to do .xml. Then we can get the invoices. Like with every query, there's always better ones. We can just do HTTP, and then we get a bunch of information here. So let's answer question 1. We can right click it, we can click on follow, and we can click on HTTP stream. And then right here, this is how the attacker carries out actions on objectives. We can see command execution here. It's being spawned by Spring Framework. It's being used by Docker as well, that is the reverse shell, which basically means command control, right? Reverse shell spawns a command back to the attacker's system, and that command is being used on the victim's machine. So that means we have 2 answers right here. So one answer is 146, which I believe should be answer 1. That is the IP that communicates with our server, and then we have the multiple components, right? What is the second command and control server? And then we have our second command and control server right here that's being used by Docker, which actually we're killing 3 birds with 1 stone here. Docker is the name of the reverse shell executable dropped on the server. Let's not, obviously we can answer way more information with this as well, but I don't want this video to be too short. So make sure you guys learn some stuff, of course. We can also look at statistics, and we can look at endpoints, and then click on IPv4, and then we can see all of the IPs that are communicating with this specific pcap, OpenWire pcap. So we do see a couple answers right here, 146 and 128. Question number 2 here, entry points are critical to trace the attack vector back. What is a attack vector? Basically, multiple or one singular way that in a threat actor, tries to infiltrate your system. So one threat vector could be a unpatched security flaw in your operating system. Another one could be, you know, a brute force attack. Attackers constantly trying to use common passwords to gain unauthorized access to an account. So what is the port number of the service the adversary exploited? So we can think with our big brains here. Obviously, we can, you know, look for the answer in Wireshark, but I feel like a better way, more easier way, and this is kind of out of scope for this lab. Obviously, there's featured write-ups here which you guys can look at, and you can, you know, look which ones that can give you a Wireshark answer. I might just actually just give you a Wireshark way to understand. So we can just do ip.src equals, and then we want to copy and paste the first IP address, because this IP address was the command and control server, and then we have a bunch of, you know, packets, or excuse me, well, packets as well, but port numbers that are communicating to these specific port numbers. So I see 616, I see 49750, I see 49764. So how do we know which one is the right answer, which also communicates with what I was about to just say, with what OpenWire, what port does it use? 616 by default, so that's answer number 2 there. So we do know that OpenWire uses 616 by default. And then following up on the previous question, which we're gonna, you know, using Google as well, was the name of the service found to be vulnerable? So OpenWire, what service does it use? Apache ActiveMQ Classic. So obviously we want to look at what the exam is, and we do see A, and then we do see A with a Q at the end, and we don't see anything regarding Classic, so we just do Apache ActiveMQ. And we already solved this one, second command and control server. And attackers usually leave traces on a disk. What is the name of the reverse shell executable dropped on the server? And I already told you guys the name was Docker. And then, like, we can, you know, use ChatGPT to our advantage right here. We can just go click on one of these packets. I believe it's click follow HTTP stream, and we can actually just copy this whole thing. Just Control V here, and then be like, what is Docker used in this sense for? Is this malicious? Yes, this is malicious behavior. Obviously, we don't want to, you know, make sure AI has the final say and everything. We want to double check its work. But yeah, if for the most part, this AI is correct, right? XML file is being spawned from a remote server. Uses the Spring framework by using Spring Beans to execute Java process builder. Okay, attack exploiting CVE 4604, which actually gives us another answer to this. But obviously, I'll let you guys know how I did it and find out what the answer compared to just AI telling me what the answer is. AI's got this right. I mean, you know, it solves a file named Docker from remote attack controlled IP. This is the IP as well. Gives execute permissions, you know, like what I said with command execution. And then what Java class was invoked by the XML file to run the exploit? Java.lang.process builder. That's obviously in the payload of the Wireshark. Yep, obviously in the payload of Wireshark, we do have the process builder. And to better understand the specific security flaw exploit, can you identify the CVE identifier? So ChatGPT already gave us the answer for this. But if I was a newbie and I didn't know what CVE meant, I would say CVE. CVE, what does it mean? Common vulnerabilities and exposures. Okay, publicly known cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Okay, cool. So yeah, basically what it means is, like, every time there's a vulnerability in cybersecurity, someone finds a way to patch it. Basically, it refers a ID of that specific vulnerability in a way to find, you know, how to patch that specific vulnerability in case it happens in your organization, right? We have this from, you know, a .gov website. Microsoft SharePoint CVE, literally added 2 days ago from this recording, contains improper authentication vulnerability that allows an authorized attacker to perform spoofing over a network and could allow to view the sensitive information and make some changes to disclosed information. So if I didn't know what CVE was for OpenWire, I would just perform another Google search saying CVE OpenWire Java, and then I would look at all of the relevant links, and I do see the answer right here. But if I want to find more information, I would click on Trend Micro, I believe. Is it Trend Micro? Yeah, Trend Micro. Click on this, and then it sees about what the CVE does, and then it talks about the patch differences. This is a website that I like the most out of all of the Links, obviously it gives you the answer, but the reason why I like this website the most is because it actually tells you the difference between the vulnerability patch included in the code. So for example, we actually see, before and after, and the only thing that they did was to patch the vulnerability. It's just a line of code, and validate is throwable. So we do have the answer for CVE right there. And then as well, this kind of solves question 8 as well. The vendor addressed the vulnerability by adding a validation step to ensure that the only valid throwable classes can be initiated, preventing exploitation. In which Java class and method was this validation step added? We can see here BaseDataStreamMarshaller.createThrowable. Basically how they got the answer was from right here, BaseDataStreamMarshaller, and then they just did that throwable, which is a crucial step because that prevents exploitation from happening, triggering remote code execution. So a pretty quick rundown of all 8 questions. Obviously we passed this lab. If I missed anything or mispronounced anything that I wasn't really clear on, more than happy to answer some of these comments. And like always, I'll see you when I see you in my next video.